In this video, we are going to look at the fascinating DNA of 3 more Scottish clans, as well as the meaning of their names and their tartans, and we'll also touch on the origins of another few clans as well. Now today I've taken you to the beautiful Castle Stalker, a castle that sits on the west coast of Scotland in the county of Argyll. The initial fortification here was used by the MacDougals of Lauren. However, the current stone castle or tower house was built around 1440 by Sir John Stewart of Lauren, a member of the powerful Stuarts of Appin, a West Highland branch of the broader Stuart clan. And let's start with Clan Stuart. What do we know about the name, tartans and DNA of this clan, this powerful and royal clan? Well, Clan Stuart has one of the most fascinating origins in Scottish history, and their story is deeply intertwined with the history of the monarchy, as the Stuarts became the royal dynasty that ruled over Scotland and later England, Ireland and Great Britain. Now the Stuarts traced their ancestry to a man named Flad FitzAlan, a Breton nobleman from Brittany and France. Following the Norman conquest of England in 1066, Flaud's son, Alan FitzFlaud, moved to England, where he was granted lands in Shropshire. Around the early 12th century, Walter FitzAlan, the grandson of Flaud, entered the service of King David I of Scotland, who ruled between 1124 and 1153. Due to his loyalty and administrative skills, Walter was appointed the first High Steward of Scotland around 1157. The title Steward referred to the officer in charge of managing the royal household and estates, and over time, the title Steward evolved into the surname Stewart. The Stuarts' power grew steadily through strategic marriages and royal favour. In 1315, Walter Stewart, the 6th High Steward, married Marjorie Bruce, the daughter of King Robert the Bruce. Their son, Robert II of Scotland, became king in 1371. Founding the House of Stuart as the ruling dynasty of Scotland, and we will soon see the DNA marker Robert II had, and you may share too. The Stuarts eventually ruled not only Scotland, but also England and Ireland after the union of the crowns in 1603, when James VI of Scotland became James I of England, following the death of Queen Elizabeth I of England, who was the last ruler from the House of Tudor. This began the era of the Stuart monarchy in Britain, although their reign was obviously an explosive period in history. Now today there are numerous branches of Clan Stuart, including the Earls of Galloway, Clan Stuart of Bute and Clan Stuart of Appin. As far as tartans, the most famous associated with them is known as the Royal Stuart Tartan, which has a bold red base with green, blue, yellow and white overchecks, as this photo shows. There are various other tartans associated with this clan, however, in the different branches of the Stuarts, as you can see. But what do we know about the DNA of Clan Stuart? Well, the good news is there has actually been some proper research into this, research involving the University of Strathclyde. Now, from a very high level genetically, the Stuart family is part of the broad R1b grouping, particularly R1b L21. Not surprising given that R1b is the most common Y-DNA haplogroup in Scotland, yet we do have research on particular DNA SNPs that are associated with this family. Now quickly for reference, the Y chromosome is passed from father to son, remaining almost unchanged across generations, except for small traceable changes in DNA called SNPs, or single nucleotide polymorphisms. And these allow us to see small differences even within broader Y-DNA groupings, markers associated with particular families or clans. As far as the SNPs associated with the Stuart clan, the first significant discovery of a distinct SNP carried by one of the branches of the family was made in 2014, when geneticist Jim Wilson identified RS781 as having been formed in Sir John Stuart. Now, Sir John Stuart was a Scottish knight and military commander during the First Scottish War of Independence, and he actually commanded the Scottish archers at the Battle of Falkirk in 1298, where William Wallace was defeated and where John died in battle. This initial DNA research led to further analysis into the descendants of Walter Stewart, who died in 1327, the 6th High Steward of Scotland that we mentioned earlier, who actually fought at the Battle of Bannockburn and was also named in the Declaration of Arbroath. We now know that his descendants carry the SNP RZ38845, since his only male line descendants are through his son, Robert II, who ruled Scotland between 1371 and 1390. All those who test positive for Z38845 have King Robert II as an ancestor, which is pretty interesting to think. So the SNP RZ38845 is a key genetic marker of the Stuart clan, or at least a branch of this family. DNA research has also been done into other members of the Stuart clan, and although it's not clear what generation these snips were formed, and more research is ongoing, these markers are still worth mentioning. Namely snip RZZ52, carried by descendants of King Robert III, who ruled between 1390 and 1406, snip R/184,394, carried by descendants of Robert Stewart, Duke of Albany, who lived between around 1340 and 1420 and actually built Doon Castle near Stirling. Snip RZ17582, carried by descendants of Alexander Stewart, Earl of Buchan, who lived between 1343 and 1394. And snip RFTT46, carried by descendants of Sir John Stewart, Sheriff of Bute, who lived between 1350 and 1441. So these are some of the main DNA snips associated with the Stuart clan, and let me know if you have any connections to the Stuart clan in the comments below, and your clan connections in general. Now next up is another very powerful clan in the history of Scotland, Clan Sutherland. But what do we know about the name Tartans and DNA of Clan Sutherland? Well, before we look at that, I would like to quickly thank my Patreon members for voting for this video topic. If you would like to vote for what video topics I make videos on, and also support this channel in general, I'll put a link to my Patreon page below. Thank you, and now on with the video. Well, we know that Clan Sutherland are a Northern Highland clan associated with the area around the county of Sutherland in the north of Scotland, with this name literally meaning southern land from a Viking perspective. The origins of this clan are thought to have been a Flemish nobleman by the name of Freskin, however, who was also the progenitor of Clan Murray. For reference, Flemish people today are a Germanic ethnic group native to Flanders and Belgium who speak Flemish Dutch. Now, Freskin is said to have first settled in Scotland during the reign of King David I, who ruled Scotland from 1124 to 1153. And after initially settling around West Lothian, he was later granted lands in the Pictish Kingdom of Moray to the north. Freskin's descendants would adopt the name of the area, with his grandson called Hugh de Moravia, a Scottish nobleman who died around 1219. The family expanded their influence in the Highlands, however, through strategic marriages and other tactics. Hugh's son, William de Moravia, who lived between 1210 and 1248, was also known as the first Earl of Sutherland. And thus, this branch of the family became known as the Sutherlands. Another branch of the family stayed in Moray though, with Hugh's brother, William de Moravia of Petty, becoming a key figure in the origins of Clan Murray. I should also note that some argue that the origins of Clan Douglas also trace back to Freskin, although others dispute this, and I will leave this for a future video. So Clan Sutherland is thought to have had these Flemish origins, but what about their tartans? Well, this is a photo of one of the main tartans of this clan, having a green base with blue, red, white and black details. There are a few other tartans associated with this clan as well though, as you can see. Now, as far as DNA, Clan Sutherland is another family the University of Strathclyde has been involved with as far as genetic research, which is good, as ideally I do like basing my videos on academic research when possible. But what did they find? Well, the Sutherlands are once again in the broad Y DNA haplogroup R1b, but the snip R/48361 appears to be the earliest snip distinct to the Sutherland surname. It was likely formed around the time that this became a fixed surname or soon after, perhaps about 1200 or so. Now, it's almost certain that all carriers of this snip, R/48361, are descended from Kenneth Sutherland, who was known as the 4th Earl of Sutherland and who lived between around 1279 and 1333. As a point of interest, Kenneth was the brother of William Sutherland, the 3rd Earl of Sutherland, who was a signatory of the Declaration of Arbroath in 1320. Now, another snip, R/130907, has been found in a documented descendant and a later Kenneth Sutherland, again who shares the same name, who was also known as the First of Force, who was born around 1352. Yet a significant number of Sutherlands who have taken an advanced Y-DNA test do not carry this snip, meaning more research is needed. However, this snip, R/48361, is a key genetic marker of the Sutherlands. Now, next up is a very interesting clan, a clan that has very unique genetic markers for Scotland, Clan Lindsay. Now, Clan Lindsay is a Scottish lowland clan, and the Lindsays were a prominent family in both Scotland and England in the 11th century. Their name is thought to derive from the region of Lindsay in England, which itself is part of the broader Lincolnshire, a ceremonial county of England. One common story of the clan's origins is that they trace their lineage back to Sir Baldric du Lindsay, who lived between around 1064 and 1096. Although born in Lincolnshire, he was a nobleman of Norman descent, with his family settling in Britain following the Norman conquest of 1066. The story goes that Sir Baldric's sons, Sir Walter and William du Lindsay, accompanied the Scottish prince, David, Earl of Huntingdon, to Scotland. The Lindsays then settled in Scotland, and later descendants were granted lands in different areas. By the 13th century, there were a number of well-established Lindsay families in Scotland. What is interesting is that they are genetically part of the I2A haplogroup on the Y DNA side, which is much rarer in Scotland than R1b. The University of Strathclyde has again been involved in research into this family, and although they note that their current research conclusions are provisional, it is highly likely that the SNP IFT11343 indicates a possible descent from the early Lindsay families resident in Scotland. Initial research also indicates that another SNP, IFT8747, indicates a likely descent from William Lindsay, first of Doe Hill, who lived between around 1350 and 1438. However, more research is needed to confirm this. It's really interesting that the Lindsay clan is associated more with this I2AY DNA haplogroup though, given the prevalence of R1b in Scotland and Western Europe in general, and this SNP, IFT11343 in particular, seems to be a key marker of this clan. As far as the Tartans of the Lindsay clan, the main Tartan associated with them is pretty unique, as you can see in this photo. Now, there are obviously many more Scottish clans to go through, so I'm going to do a part 3 on this topic and other follow-up videos as well in the future. I want to cover as many Scottish clans as possible in some way at least, even if it's just covering their origins, as not all clans have good DNA research on them yet, but many do. And please let me know your clan connections below as well once again. But what do we know about the DNA of other Scottish clans such as Bruce and Campbell? Well, to find out, please click here. Thanks for watching, please subscribe and hit the bell. Let me know your thoughts in the comments below and if you have any clan connections, and I'll see you next time.